following images are a visual supplement to the previous cursory account of the pioneering legacy of the southeastern coastal U.S. The interior of the states of Georgia, Alabama, and Florida had been sparsely populated in the colonial era. Given the maze of tangled bush, forest, and wetland, much of the area is not conducive to plantation or farm cultivation. The Round Oak, Georgia area near Macon, Georgia features ghostly memories of a now vanished Caney Creek community and New Hope Primitive Baptist Church deep in the Piedmont National Wildlife Refuge. In 1787, a former Delaware slave named Richard Allen established the Free American Society in Philadelphia. The members' inclinations led to a split with the Methodist Episcopal Church, and so began the African Methodist Episcopal Church, or AME Church. The church today is located on an acre of land that trustees purchased from George White in 1893 for $20. Caney Creek meanders through this heavily wooded hollow where once self-sufficient farms dotted the area. The New Hope Primitive Baptist Church nearby served the Childs, Coulters, Cranes, Crutchfields, Gordons, Greens, Greshams, Hammocks, Jacksons, Geralds, Maynards, Middlebrooks, and Pippins, many with 10 to 12 children. Today, the area is part of the 35,000-acre Piedmont Refuge. The Civil War, boll weevil, and depression eventually dislodged the farmers. The government purchased most of the land for $1 or $2 an acre and dismantled the houses. However, New Hope Church has not closed its door since 1813, and some Caney Creek family members still worship here. The name arose in the early 1800s when the word primitive meant, quote, original. The term also refers to the church's ideal of simplicity in worship. The scriptures are the sole rule of faith and practices. There is line-out singing, with a leader reading a songline, followed by the congregation singing it. Baptism, for adults only, is by immersion, and the foot washing of the Last Supper is part of the communion service. Drunkenness, cursing, cheating, and even, quote, possum hunting behind the church, unquote, could lead to expulsion. Once, a husband who protested his wife's excommunication was excommunicated himself for complaining. The pastor is Elder Wesley Watkins. Further south, hugging the current Florida state border, is the largest blackwater swamp in North America. The Okefenokee covers roughly 700 square miles of southeastern Georgia. Cypress clusters winding waterways, and floating peat mats are layered in shrubs, ferns, and forests of black gum and bay trees, roughly 400 species of vertebrate, including a couple of hundred varieties of birds and more than 60 kinds of reptiles, are in the swamp. The southern Georgia swamp waters, suppressed in variously impenetrable heavy oak, cypress, lichen canopies fan out southward across the Florida border, seeping along riverine corridors like the Suwannee. Even today, the wilderness is largely uninhabitable by humans and left to its native wild creatures. Alligators, toads, snakes, birds, fern glades, sinkholes, and tourists. I selected a path to walk amidst the lush oaky undergrowth, staying alert to seeming immobile natural predators. The surface peace, sometimes interrupted by swamp stink or rustling breeze, leaves me marveling at early settler and Native American capacity to cope. Erecting stockades, chopping down and trampling the detritus, building moats, killing mysterious wild things like mosquitoes, sowing seeds with local help, notably slave labor, and gradually enlarging the breathing space. With exceptions, the Spanish, the English, the seafarers on the coast, the French explorers along the Mississippi stayed away from the Okefenokee watershed region altogether. Today, maps show a large, nearly blank area massing on the southern border of Georgia with Florida. Native tribes, too, clustered on more fertile and solid ground. Coastal Charleston, South Carolina, Savannah, Georgia, and St. Augustine, Florida, served as safer communities for trade and enterprise. The interior basin served up only fish and reptile delicacies. Choctaw, Cherokee, Creek, Shawnee, Seminoles, and loosely associated other Indian dwellers here in the Southeast, both before and after the Revolutionary War, were caught in a vice of conflict and sharp division of loyalties, with misinformation all around them, like the maze of tangled brush dotted with occasional blooms and tufts of swamp grass. The colonial waves created both opportunities and despair. Basically, the human conditions for progress, then setbacks, evolved to and beyond the Civil War until this day. The so-called Southern demeanor, a, quote, drawl, gained prominence, but a white man's culture relying on indigenous or native or exogenous or black laborers gave way to the northeastern colonial tools of persuasion, military, and finance. Dissenters were pushed into the swamps. Foreigners without proper manners were shunned and excluded from polite society. We're getting a little ahead of ourselves as we have so far surveyed the implications of the dispersals and mythic disruptions of Eastern Indians after the Revolution. The indignities suffered and their nation-building attempts blocked occurred mostly after the War of 1812. These events were preceded by another monumental event presided over much earlier by President Thomas Jefferson, the Louisiana Purchase from France in 1803. The American Wild West then began to emerge in myth and in actual detail within the minds and imaginations of citizens around the globe. Meriwether Lewis and William Clark set off to mark the trail from the Mississippi and Missouri rivers to the Pacific Ocean. The manifest destiny that Jefferson and all national leaders of the U.S. have since espoused swept the larger part of the future whole United States mostly clean of hidden dissenters and open rebels, foreign and native alike. But it took some time to unfold. So far, more than 2 centuries. That is a story to come in Book 2 of this treatise, entitled Pioneer Trail, Cowboys, Indians, and Pilgrims.